Okay, we are live. I am trying StreamYard technology today, so I'm going to fiddle around with this as we go, but I am happy to be here. Nobody's online with me yet. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to come on board, and then we're going to dive in regardless. If you're here for the event itself, awesome. If you're here for the replay, that's awesome too. Let me know. So just a few moments. Hi, Loretta's here. Hello, Loretta. Great to see you. You are our first one today. So we're going to give it just another moment. And it looks like some other people are showing up. Awesome. And I can even see your comments, which for those of you who have been following these lives for a while know I've been struggling with that. So I'm happy to see your comments. And hi, Loretta. And I'm happy to engage with you guys, answer your questions, whatever it may be. The topic today is how to keep your thoughts from driving you crazy. So as we go on, put some stuff in the comments. Let me know if you have thoughts that drive you crazy. I'm curious to know what your experience is, and I'm going to dive right in. So one of the things we're going to have to get clear about as we begin to explore this is, what exactly is this? When we say a thought that's driving you crazy, I'm going to define that as a stressful thought. Very simple. And a stressful thought in this regard is any thought. I like to use the definition that author, teacher Byron Katie uses. Anybody here know who Byron Katie is? I love her. I highly recommend her work. And Katie, as everyone calls her, defines a stressful thought as an argument with reality. In other words, anytime you have a thought that says this thing, this circumstance, whatever it is, should be different other than it is, that's called an argument with reality. And Katie says this very simply. She says, when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So if that's the case, if you find yourself occasionally arguing with reality, stick around, because this is going to be valuable for you. So let's take a look, okay? Where might you be arguing with reality right now, okay? Check it out in your own life. Are you having an argument with reality about your finances, about your relationship, about your health? How about something that everyone seems to like to argue about right now, world events or COVID or something like that? Where do you notice that you have a thought that something should be different other than it is? You see, that's simple, right? That's an argument with what is, with reality. So I want you to just pick one of those thoughts and just allow yourself to sort of dwell in it for a moment, to just be present with it and notice how that feels. Do you feel more expanded or contracted when you focus on that thought? Do you feel happy, sad, angry, overwhelmed? Do you feel more or less overall resourceful? So these are the things I want you to begin to explore. Now I'm going to give you a key question to think about that you can take home with yourself and explore anytime this comes up. And the question is simple. Am I having this thought or this feeling on behalf of my ego or on behalf of my true self? Give that question a moment to ponder. Now here's the spoiler alert, okay? If you're having an argument with reality, you can be sure that it's your ego. If a thought causes you to become more tense, contracted, or more sure, quote unquote, as in I'm right and they're wrong, then there's a pretty good chance that it's your ego that's driving the bus. Now, you could see that as a problem, or you can see that as a gift, because once you really can begin to make that distinction, recognize the difference between your ego and your true self, as we call it, now you have an opportunity to look beyond the ego to see who you really are. Now, don't be surprised if you notice resistance to this. Your ego is not a big fan of being exposed in this way. So understand that it may not be like just effortless or easy to do this, but it's worth it. And hopefully you'll get a taste of that as we go on. So the first thing that we want to decide here is that if you're having a stressful thought, if you're noticing that it's creating some tension or some emotional stress in you, the first thing you have to notice is this something that you really want to change? Okay, willingness, key element here. Okay, and I want to be clear, it takes courage to do this because of what I mentioned before about your ego. So it takes courage to be willing to go beyond an ego-created illusion towards in the direction of your true self. Now I'm going to give you a simple two-step process here, which is one of many that I teach, okay? But I want to emphasize this. Once you've decided that you're willing, there are many ways to deal with this. Once you really can see that you're caught in this stressful thought loop, okay? So I want to teach you a very simple process today, all right? First thing I want you to do is come back to that stressful thought. You guys with me here? You can throw some answers in the comments. Let me know if this is making sense to you so far. And as you're doing that, I want you to just remember, come back to that one you had before, or any stressful thought, any area of your life where you feel stressed, where you feel that you're having this argument with reality, that you think things should be different other than they are. And I just want you to notice that. And I want you to move from the thought to the feeling that it creates. What do you notice inside? And I want you to give that feeling a name. Happy, sad, angry, whatever. Just take a moment and let yourself find that. And I'm going to invite you to make a few declarations regarding this feeling. And you're welcome to do this out loud if you like, or you can do it in your head. I think it may even be more powerful if you speak it, but either way is fine. First statement. Okay, let's just pretend that the feeling that you identified is anger. So you're going to make the statement, I am angry. Just make that statement either out loud or to yourself and notice how it feels. Notice what it feels like when you add anything to the end of the phrase, I am. You are literally claiming that feeling as part of your identity. So just notice what it feels like when you take a stressful feeling and you claim it as literally saying, this is part of who I am in this moment. I am angry. So notice that. And now let's take another statement. This time we're going to say, I feel. I feel angry. And notice, does that produce a different experience in you? Can you make a distinction between I am and I feel? So check that out. And now we're going to go one more step. I am aware of anger, in this case, or whatever you're feeling. Notice again how that continues to shift your experience. So we went from I am to I feel to I am aware of. Now, one of the qualities that we often describe when I talk about awareness is that awareness is completely inclusive. It doesn't discriminate between good and bad, want this, don't want that. Awareness includes everything. So the next level I want you to go to, you went from I am aware of, now I want you to try I welcome. Now this one might be challenging for you. So check it out, right? I welcome anger. I welcome anger. And see what that creates for you. That might, I was doing this with a client yesterday, it might literally create a different emotion. You know, somebody was working yesterday with anger And when they got to I welcome, it created a bunch of sadness. So if you have to shift into a different one, you have to be flexible as this moves on. But yeah, play around with that. Notice what happens when you say, I welcome this stressful thought or feeling, right? Because your ego tries to make it a problem that you feel this way. So now you're welcoming it. Whatever your experience is, as awareness, just allow it to be what it is. I welcome X. Get a sense of what that means. And we're going to take this one more step. This time, take the feeling, anger, let's say. Anger and awareness are not separate. So somebody here, I'm sorry, your name doesn't show up on the StreamYard here. It just says Facebook user. Someone said, aware should be separation. So I want you to think about this in terms of what we just said. Awareness, anger and awareness are not separate. In other words, can you see that the anger or whatever feeling you may be dealing with arises from this space of awareness? Just explore this for yourself. Again, moving from I am to I feel, I am aware of, I welcome, and this feeling, whatever it is, and awareness are not separate. This is a progression, moving you from complete identification with the feeling towards seeing the feeling as arising within you as a greater space of awareness itself. And so hopefully as you're completing this exercise, you can begin to see your stressful thought in a larger context. And this is because with each successful statement, as I said before, you're becoming less identified with the feeling. Hey, Ken, thank you. So this is important because from the perspective of ego, and for those of you who haven't maybe been in some of the recent lives that I've done, by ego, I mean the identity, the idea of a me that we've created, that we all created many years ago out of fear and insecurity. We create an ego because somehow our experience in the world when we're very, very little we don't seem to feel like we belong. We're born into the world as love. We're born into the world as oneness. But pretty quickly, we get a sense that somehow everyone else doesn't experience life that way. And so we create an identity simply to get along, to fit in with the world. Because that's a very primal urge, by the way, very deeply encoded into your neurology, is the need to fit in with your tribe. Because when we don't fit in with the tribe, we die out, 1,000 years ago. So that's still very deeply wired in. So we create this identity just so we can feel part of something. Now, with each successive statement, as we went through this process, we became less identified with this feeling and more aware of ourselves as the space, if you will, within which our feelings and our experiences occur. Okay? As an ego, we identify with whatever our experience is in the moment. This is why, as I said before, the I am statement is so powerful, which is what most of us say unconsciously all the time. I am angry. I am this. I am that. So we don't really want to fix that feeling more deeply into your identity. You want to begin to see that this feeling or experience is something that occurs within you as the larger space of awareness, of consciousness. So as we go down this list from I am to I feel to I am aware of to I welcome to ultimately seeing that this feeling arises within awareness, you become less attached, less caught up in that thought or feeling. Now, often in my experience doing this with myself or working with clients, this simple shift in perspective allows us to create a much more peace in a very short time. Anyone else aware of that? Can anyone else notice if you went through this process that you felt more peace, a little more willingness to be with what is? Let me know in the comments if that's true for you. But again, you have to be willing. You can literally ask yourself, am I willing to explore this? And when you get a yes to that answer, it like literally aligns you. You actually become more in willingness. I'm trying to see how to say this. Like by alignment, I mean that there are parts of you that might otherwise try and pull you back or sabotage you that can get on board with this inquiry. And by the way, it's perfectly okay to say no. If you ask, am I willing? And the answer you get is no, that's okay. That's being honest with yourself. That's honoring where you are in this moment. You can ask the same question again in 5 minutes and see if you get a different answer. So that's really, I want to keep this simple and brief today. So all we wanted to explore here is this simple 2-step process, right? The process is, notice whatever stressful feeling. Well, maybe you call it 3 steps, right? The first step is just notice maybe you're having some argument with reality. Notice what that feeling is and give it a name. That's step 2. And step 3 is to just go down this list of making these simple declarations. I am, I feel, I'm aware of, I welcome, and this feeling is not separate from awareness. Play with this, and see where it takes you. Okay? And I don't want to add a lot more content today because I want you to have this sense that you can take this one little tidbit and run with it. Now, if you want more content, okay, I'm going to share with you something that I am doing, that some of you have heard me talk about this before. We have a group, a coaching group coming up soon. And that group, which launches in a little over a week, is literally designed to take a group of us through the process of becoming more and more awake of this true identity, this true self that's always present behind the ego. So you begin to see through the illusory mask of the ego that you've created to the source of this ego, the source of who you really are. And you begin to tap in more and more to the peace, the freedom, the happiness, the authenticity that is always present, but sometimes not so easily seen. So the first part of this coaching group is to help people create that experience, that deep inner knowing of who you really are. And then from there, we create a game. We say, now, once I know that my happiness is no longer dependent on the outcomes that I produce in the world and no longer dependent on the circumstances that I experience in the world, that my happiness is intrinsic to who I am, now we can create a game in life. We can create any kind of a game knowing that our happiness isn't dependent on the outcome, that it's not dependent on the circumstances. So we begin to explore what it is that we really want. What lights us up? What turns us on? How can we begin to move towards that? And how can we begin to use really powerful tools, understanding how life is constantly trying to fulfill our desires when we understand the mechanics of creation itself. But if you try and engage in the mechanics of creation in an attempt to fix yourself, in an attempt to try and make you happy, it doesn't work. That's why step 1 is to first remember who you are. So that group is coming. It's coming soon. There's a few spots still left in it. So if you want to know more about that, please do let me know. And we're just coming up on about 20 minutes. That was my promise, that we could get this done in 20 minutes or less. So I appreciate you guys being here as always. It is great fun for me to be able to share these ideas and this inquiry with you. If you have any final comments or thoughts, I'd love to hear them. I very much appreciate you guys being here for these. If you're watching it live, let me know. If you're going to watch it on the replay later, please let me know that. If you're interested in being part of the coaching group, either put a message in the comments or send me a personal message, and we'll set up a time to chat about that. And I think that's it. I'll be back next week same time with another topic. I haven't decided what it'll be yet, but it'll be somewhere along these lines of this inquiry. And anything else I can do for you guys between now and then, please feel free to reach out. Okay? Take care. Peace.